Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. Tonight for the highlights we got message of congratulations from the President of the Republic to his Chinese counterpart, Djibouti, China. And on the international scene in Libya, UN mission extended until end of January with weekend envoy. Those were the major top highlights for tonight. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, expressed his best wishes to his counterpart Xi Jinping on the occasion of the celebration this Friday on the National Day of the People's Republic of China. The wishes of the head of state to the President of China came in a congratulatory telegram in which he also expressed wishes for more progress, prosperity, and fulfillment to the friendly Chinese people. The celebration of the anniversary of your country is an opportunity to give the full measure of success categorizing the People's Republic of China, wrote President Guelleh in his telegram. This success undoubtedly gives China the stature of a global power and consequently that of a model of inspiration for countries like the Republic of Djibouti, who wishes to achieve sustainable development. He continued, "We are proud of the soiled relations of friendship and cooperation that unite the two brotherly people, the Republic of Djibouti and the People's Republic of China, in the long term," said the head of state, who welcomed the continuous straining of the level of exchange and economic collaboration between the two nations. "Be sure, Mr. President, that you will always find with me and the Djiboutian government all the necessary support for the preservation and promotion of strategic and win-win partnerships buried in all sectors of development between our two countries." President Ismail Omar Guelleh also said, before reiterating his best wishes to the President of China and to all the friendly Chinese people. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation government spokesman Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf took part today in the 1035th session of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union held via video conference. The theme of the session was the expected impact on the withdrawal of foreign forces and mercenaries on Libya, the Sahel, and the rest of the continent. In his speech, the head of Djiboutian diplomacy called on the African Union to find ways and means to drive out the Sahel foreign fighters and other mercenaries who represent a major risk to peace and stability in all Sahel countries. For this, he insisted on the fact that it was imperative to revisit and review the instruments and mechanism of the African Union in order to adapt them to a continental strategy of struggle more than necessary on the issue and no longer be satisfied with punctual reactions to this phenomenon of infiltration of our countries by those foreign fighters and mercenaries. Finally, he paid a vibrant tribute to all the peacemakers acting in the many regions of our continent who, at the price of many sacrifices, carry the banner of peace high on our continent. Moving on, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, opened yesterday an important workshop on sensitization for the acceptance of intra-house sparing, which is also known as IHS, in the Kuyum of Bal'os. With the approach of the cool season, the holding of this workshop sounds like the kickoff of a vast campaign of intra-domestic spraying that will be carried out as part of the anti-vectoral and multiform fight in popular neighborhoods, especially in the qualified as high-risk malaria. Yesterday's ceremony was attended by many high-level personalities and stakeholders of the action, such as the Japanese ambassador, Utsuka Umo, the mayor of Djibouti, Fatuma Awali, the representative of WHO, and the representative of UNDP, the suite of Director General of the UNFD, Fatuma Musa, the representative of UNFDs, and many other partners of the Ministry of Health. Originally introduced in our country, the intra-domestic spraying in a new method of vector control that has already proven its effectiveness in the global fight against malaria. The workshop program included several thematic presentations on the benefits as an effective vector control method. The involvement and participation of the community in the malaria control process was also recognized as essential for the success of these preventive activities. Several technical and financial partners took the floor to reiterate their unwavering support to the vector control efforts of the Ministry of Health. In his speech, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, thanked the leaders, the community-based associations working in the fight against malaria, as well as for their dynamic involvement in the organization of this indoor spraying campaign. This campaign will also be accompanied by several complementary provisions, strategies within the framework of the multifaceted fighting, combining, among others, the actions of large destruction, lever destruction, spatial spraying, or distribution of impregnated mosquito nets. The Mayor of Djibouti, Madam Fatouma Awale, and the Secretary General of UNIFDE, Fatouma Musa, spoke to reaffirm the measures taken by their services in addition to the fight against vectors, in particular with the removal of carcass of vehicle in the capital. In their respective statements, the technical and financial partners of the Ministry of Health praised the department's efforts in malaria prevention and control.
And vector control distribution of insecticides and bed nets and indoor residual spraying, we had actually made tremendous achievement. Only in the year 2021 and after Your Excellency took stage, I think we have managed to test 135,000 people that had symptoms of malaria, and out of them 40,000 tend to be positive and were successfully treated for malaria, with thanks to the Ministry of Health and the Global Fund. I think in spite of the COVID pandemic, the Ministry of Health did not reduce its effort to control malaria. And that's another point where we want to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of the Ministry of Health. Your Excellency, you have done a tremendous effort in maintaining the flagship of malaria control. Even though COVID is putting a lot of pressure on the health system, I think it's still a disease that we have to control, and that's equal attention to malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis is one of the practical approaches that the ministry and your dedicated team are exerting a lot of effort. And I want to actually take the opportunity to acknowledge the colleagues who are working, Madam Munira and the colleagues who are working, and the Director of the Malaria Control, for all their efforts on controlling the disease. Although we were able to adapt and innovate new technologies to look at the malaria threat, and we saw today quite a number of technologies from the fishes to the natural mitigation measures and to the spraying activities, the basic response of malaria is actually at the household level. And that's where we need the community. And a special thank you note to the Union of the Women of Djibouti for their mobilization, but also a special thank you note for His Excellency the Minister for openness to utilize the community workers. It's a new stage that we haven't seen and we've been advocating for many years, so congratulations, Excellency.
And in his speech, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, recalled that his action is part of a multi-form and multi-sectoral fight to eliminate malaria, which has reached an annual prevalence of about 73 cases per 1,000 inhabitants. On the sidelines of this launching workshop, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, and the partners visited several stands per visiting activities related to the vector control, but also on the therapeutic protocol of malaria in Djibouti. The officials also inspected the spray gun vehicles that will recross the capital as part of the vast spiritual spraying campaign. The Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources, His Excellency Mr. Yunus Ali Gede, presided this morning in Kempeski a workshop on natural hydrogen and helium co-products of geothermal energy. This workshop was intended to learn about and discuss an innovative subject that is natural hydrogen or terrestrial co-products of geothermal energy from the subsoil of our country. After having identified natural hydrogen from the subsoil of Djibouti, and in order to develop a research and industrial development program, ODEC has been surrounded for more than a year by experienced and international recognized organizations in this field, namely the IFP Energy in the universities of the other countries, UPA. The development and exploitation of natural hydrogen will allow the Republic of Djibouti to anchor part of its energy strategy in the use of the hydrogen factor and thus evolving and contribute to its decarbonization. The Director General of ODEC, Mr. Kayad, recalled that this analytical result of two exploratory field missions conducted in Djibouti gave good results. The Minister of Energy, Mr. Yunus Ali Gede, emphasized that the proposed exploitation program requires a significant investment by ODEC and its partners in order to ensure gas withdrawals on the next geometrical drillings. Moving on to sports, the Secretary of State in charge of sports, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, received this morning in his office the Ambassador of the United States of America associated to Djibouti, Mr. Jonathan Pratt. After a few words of welcome, the talks touched on the existing cooperation relations between Djibouti and the United States, particularly in the field of sports, as well as the ways and means to strengthen them further. During the meeting, which also saw the participation of the technical advisor Mr. Wahib Hamadou and the head of communication of the ministry Mr. Idris Adoita, both parties expressed their real willingness to take concrete steps to consolidate the exceptional relations between the two countries, mainly in the field of sports, hence some projects submitted by the head of sports to his host. At the end of this meeting, the American ambassador reiterated his willingness to further strengthen the fruitful collaboration with the Secretary of State in charge of sports in order to support the efforts he is constantly deploying for the promotion and development of sports. The controls carried out by the National Police continue, and it is in this sense that the National Police has undertaken this morning a large-scale operation on the control of the vignettes 2021. Indeed, the time allowed for the acquisition of the vignette of the current year have elapsed. The National Police will now carry out permit controls on all traffic arteries. The population is asked to comply with this measure. The car sticker began an annual tax on vehicles in circulation on all roads, and which translates into obligation to buy and affects the element specially materializing this tax payment or sticker on the windshield of each vehicle subject. The efforts made by the Judicial Group in its policy of fighting against public insecurity in the commune of Balbala have once again borne fruit. Indeed, in the evening of the 26th September 2021, a young couple presented the sums of the Gendarmerie Brigade of Sheikh Musa, telling of having been exported by three men a little earlier in the same evening while they were on a vaccine located behind the college. The victims added that the offenders were armed with knives and robbed them of their smartphones. With the descriptions of the offenders given by two victims, the investigators of the Sheikh Musa Brigade started to look for them. The investigations resulted in positive results, including the location of the suspects and their arrest on the night of the crime. The investigation resulted in the arrest of 4 individuals involved as perpetrators and receivers. All of them are repeat offenders and already known for similar crimes. This nice haul also allowed the discovery of seizure of 29 cell phones of different brands extorted from several victims of the numerical sum of 33,700 Ethiopian birrs coming from the procedures of the financing, and especially several types of knives, all intended to scare the victims. In the day of 29th September, the BCIM Air Bank organized a day of meeting with the traders and entrepreneurs of the region of Dakhel, the city of Union. This day of meeting presided and marked by the presence of Mr. Regis Barik, General Manager of the bank, Mr. Frederick Summit, accompanied by the team of the commercial line and the officials of the region, namely the prefect, Mr. Adan Musa Darar, and the president of the regional council, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunus Are. The aim of this day was to sensitize the local traders on the opportunities and advantages offered by the bank to promote the local ceremony in all sectors of activities. It is with deep sadness that we just learned of the death of the Imam of the Nurani Mosque of Section 7, Sheikh Ali Ibrahim Wa'ez, which occurred in Turkey. Born in 1964, the Imam left behind 9 children and grandchildren. Sheikh Ali Ibrahim Wa'ez was the Imam of the Nurani Mosque for a long time. In this painful order, the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Waqfs, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Beri, sends his sincerest condolences to the family of the deceased, to his relatives, and to the whole religious body. May Allah, the Merciful, welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Shifting gears towards the international scenes now, the UN Security Council on Thursday announcedly adopted a resolution extending its political mission in Libya until January 31st, a short duration that weaks its envoy and has led to a 3-week tug of war between Russia and the United Kingdom. The 50-member council should have extended the manual mission almost automatically for another year in mid-September, especially in the run-up to Libya's presidential elections on December 24th, which are intended to turn the page on a decade of war. By this, our beloved viewers, we conclude tonight's edition. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you a happy weekend. Good night and thank you.